Welcome to the Successful Home Inspector Podcast, where we discuss everything you need to know about home inspection from A to Z. Brought to you by Preston Sandlin and Home Inspection Carolina. We're here to share some success stories and some not so successful stories. Some things we can all learn from, and maybe, just maybe, we can help each other and raise the profession. So sit back, turn up the volume, and enjoy. Now, here's your host of the Successful Home Inspector Podcast, Preston Sandlin.
Are you struggling to make your home inspection business grow? Well, have I got the answer for you. HomeInspectionFlyers.com. At HomeInspectionFlyers.com, you get 5 flyers a month. There are 3 sales flyers and 2 recipe flyers. And you can customize them to exactly what you want. And these make great flyers when you go to the offices to put in their boxes, especially if you're doing like candy bowls or something along that nature. Like I said, it's 5 flyers a month for $29.99, and they're very creative, and you just put in your information. They come as a publisher file, and you just put in your information, and then you send them off to get printed. You can send them off online, and you can get color copies for less than 10 cents a copy. It's a great way to go. I went from being a 1-man home inspection firm to a 7-man home inspection firm on this one strategy alone. So try it today. HomeInspectionFlyers.com. Thanks.
All right, guys. Well, I have a treat for you here today. I am here with a really sharp guy, Billy Boerner, and he's retired Air Force, and he was in the business part-time, but he is now full-time, but he, through his savvy on the internet, has got more business than he can handle. And he reached out to me, and we've talked on Facebook, and this guy is sharp. I checked him out because I was like, yeah, a lot of people say they're good at that stuff. And I Googled, home inspection St. Louis, home inspector St. Louis. He came up number 1 in every category on the maps and the organic search. So I was like, this guy's for real. I need to talk to him. So, Billy, how you doing today?
Good, sir. How you doing today, Preston?
I'm good. Well, I wanted to say thank you for taking the time to talk to us and being so generous with your knowledge and your time. And no problem. So we want to get to know a little bit about you first, though. Tell us a little bit about you personally, Billy.
Well, personally, I'm born and raised out of Oklahoma. I'm from St. Louis now. I've been here since 2008. I have 2 kids, 1 in the Air Force and 1 in college. And love what I do.
I hear you. Well, how did you make that transition from being in the Air Force to, and I know you sort of did it part-time, but what got you interested in home inspection? How did you sort of branch into that?
Well, in my early 20s, I started flipping houses and got into that. And it was interesting enough that I actually met up with an investor, and we started doing that for about 10 years or so. And one day I went to go buy my own house. I hired a home inspector. So followed him around and everything, and interesting enough, and I thought, wow, I could do this. that doesn't look too hard. So I just started investigating it, and bottom line is here I am. I've been in business since 2008, and after all that research and headaches and everything else, and I love what I do. It's a passion of mine now, and I wouldn't do anything different.
I hear you. It's amazing. I've interviewed a lot of folks, and I would say probably 40 to 50% have that exact same story where they, had a home inspection and they thought it was interesting. And I think, though, a lot of people thought it was easy. Once they got into it, it's harder than it looks. But you've certainly done a good job. Well, and I know you've just been in it a short time, Billy, but have you seen any changes in it in the short time that you've been in it?
Not really. You guys talk about that all the time. I listen to all your podcasts, by the way, and I have to say
Thank you.
I look forward to it each and every day. But,
well, thank you.
Like I said, I've only been in it now since 2008, and I was in it training under a guy before that, And I would just have to say the reporting and how we report things has changed a little bit, because he taught me off of, doing the checklist and handing that out. He never took pictures or anything like that.
Right.
And then along came HIP and everything else, and I don't see how people are still getting away with it to some degree.
Sure.
I still know some home inspectors out there that doesn't take pictures or doesn't or hands them on a file or disc to somebody, and I just don't see how they get away with that. But other than that, no. Like I said, I was Air Force for a long time. I did this. I liked the back shadows.
Mm-hmm.
And I never really got around to the conferences or anything like that. I just mainly talked to people on message boards and stuff like that. And now I'm getting around to more conferences this year and stuff. So I'm learning, trying to catch up with you guys, I guess.
No. We're gonna talk here in a minute. We're trying to catch up with you because it's funny. I asked you have you seen any changes, and the second part of that question I'm going to ask you towards the end of the interview is, what do you see in the future? And I think what we're going to talk about here in a second is kind of the future of what's happening. And it does seem like with, the internet, the tablets, the electronics, the microchip, it has disrupted a lot of businesses in a good way, I think, for the consumer, textbooks, music, and to a degree, home inspections. I mean, we live in an age now, I think, where the yellow book is almost obsolete. I mean, everybody now, goes to the internet. So this is an area that you have excelled in. And we're going to get into that. But first, you and I talked about some topics. So this interview is going to be a little bit different than some of the other interviews because of some of your knowledge and your willingness to share with us. So first, Billy, tell us about the importance of your image, like website, attire, and automobile, and that sort of thing.
Well, I've been listening a lot to like Mike Crow and your podcasts, what you're talking about with people, and I can't believe what I hear sometimes on people when they say they put their image on not on the back burner, but like secondary.
Mm-hmm.
To me, image is number one.
Okay.
And when it comes to websites, when it comes to your car, when it comes to the way you look, you need to brand. You need to have an image out there so people will remember you.
Right.
When keep, like, for example, your name, your company name. I see so many times where people name their company names something difficult. It's all about reputation, memory. People need to remember you. And I've heard more than once now, a couple times, several times actually, where, a realtor or whoever will say, God, he was such a great inspector, but I can't remember his name.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
I want to be someone that they can remember, and that's why I went around and I looked at everybody's brochures, I looked at their business cards, I looked at their company collars, and one thing they had in particular all over here was like white, blue, and red.
Mm-hmm.
We just did something totally drastic. We're pitch black. So.
Yeah, I saw that. It does stand out, and I like your. I think you did the letters. What is it? The call letters for your city in your name. Was it STL? Or that's pretty sharp. I think that's a smart move there.
And that's a big thing that really helped us with SEO, and we'll get into that as well. STL, St. Louis. I'm a firm believer that you really have to go after something that's somebody they can really recall, they can really relate to. And
right.
When it comes to your URL, when it comes to your business name.
Cool.
That's why we picked STL, because STL was all over everything. STL plumbing, STL this. I said, you know what? I said, it works. So
I hear you.
Obviously, it's worked for 6 years now. So
like I said,
number one on Google, Yahoo, and Bing for about that long. Pretty much as long as I've been in business.
That's true, because I Googled you to see. Well, Billy, tell us about the importance of your company colors. When I chose mine, they're orange and blue. I did a little bit, my mom was an artist and I was into art, and they're complementary colors. They set each other off. Like red and green or purple and yellow, and I mean there's different color combinations, but I do think it's important to stand out. What's your thoughts on company colors?
Like I said, again, I think it's very important that you pick colors and stick with those colors. For example, I got friends all over the United States now that I've met and stuff, and they're home inspectors, and they'll go to a job with nothing. I mean, with a white van, no lettering on their van. I've seen it where they're not wearing any kind of company colors, any shirts, any jeans, any kind of pants that matches.
Right.
I think it's vital that you pick a company color and you stick with it and you don't change it. That's what's important. Because people are going to remember you, and if you don't pick a color that's bold and exciting, you're going to blend in with the rest.
That's right. And, Billy, it's not all that expensive anymore. I mean, you can get signs, shirts, I mean, all that stuff. You can even get, if you don't have a logo, you can go on. There's a couple places like, I think 99 Designs or something like that where, I mean, these people will compete to, make you a logo for like $100 or something. And they're, really good. Yeah,
that's another thing with logos. You really need to make a logo that stands out, that's different than your competition and the rest of you. And, like I was talking to, with Nick D'Amico, great guy. I love Internachi, great organization, don't get me wrong. But when they make their logos, they kind of look the same. I don't know if you ever realized that.
Right.
They have the same look, the same background. And this is that goes back with websites. When it comes to websites too, is a lot of people like to make it easy, and they sign up with Home Inspector Pro or anybody else. And Dominic has a great system out there. He can get you ranked pretty high, pretty quick.
Right.
I love what he can do. However, a lot of them look the same. You got to make yourself look different. You got to make yourself stand out. And
sure.
Don't blend in with the crowd.
No, I'm with you. If you ever seen some of the pants that I wear, I'm all about that. Well, Billy, just a side note question, a little bit off script here. Do you do your own website, or do you have somebody do it, or do you do it yourself?
No, I hand code my own website.
Wow.
I'm a coder, and I've did a lot of my own graphics and everything else too. And what people don't realize is a lot of people I understand doesn't want to take the time to do it themselves, and that's fine. There's great systems out there like Weebly, Squarespace, and things like that it's drag and drop and you can do yourself. I actually hand coded my website, and I think it just is cleaner code and stuff like that. And w3schools.com, if you take 2 days only. You can teach yourself HTML and a few call signs with PHP, and you'd be up in no time. But if you don't want to do that, Weebly, Squarespace, and those things like that are great things to do. What people fail to do is set up their SEO properly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Weebly, Squarespace, and all those have a page where you literally just have to type in and set up your, what you want to put for SEO. And they make it so simple, so easy, that people fail to put the right things when it comes to SEO.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit, Billy, and just to make sure anybody SEO is search engine optimization. And this is so when people go into the search engines and they type in, typically, and you can actually go on to Google and see what's searched for the most. But typically it's going to be your city or your area and home inspector or home inspection or something like that. So tell us how SEO works, Billy, and what you recommend, and how. Just give us the tour of search engine optimization. How does it work?
Well, believe it or not, it's a lot more simpler than people think, and people pay, in my opinion, way too much money when it comes to SEO.
Okay.
if I highly recommend that your listeners visit my website. And why I talk to you about this, it's going to be early off on my website here. Okay. So stlhomeinspector.com is my website. So basically, SEO is made up of a slew of things. However, the basics is this: your URL. Your URL is very important. Okay. Let's take Miriam's website. I love her website. Okay.
Inspect it like a girl.
Inspect it like a girl. She has a great design. They took time. They did great graphics on it.
Right.
But you got to remember, Inspect It Like a Girl, they're going to have to really promote themselves into the market so people understand and go to search for that name.
Right.
But the URL plays very heavily when it comes to searching for SEO. It's changed a little bit now. Google is actually, more they're more worried about content, if you will. Content is king.
Right.
You don't want too much content. Okay. You don't want to overdo it. You don't want to copy. You don't want to, especially steal from a lot of the other people's websites. Because Google will ding you on that.
Right.
Where I would start out is giving a URL that's try to be always have home inspection in it. If you want to do the building consultant thing because you don't want to be just homes, try to be building consultant, whatever. But I always recommend you stick with the city that you're targeting, your main city.
Right.
And that's why I could have chose St. Louis Home Inspector if it was available. I tried that. It wasn't available. I said, what's the next best thing? STL. Because everybody can relate to STL.
Right.
Numerous amount of businesses is set up for that. So that's what I chose was St. Louis, stlhomeinspector.com. So the next biggest thing you want to look at is your title on your web page, okay? If you look at mine on Google, you'll notice that the first part of it is St. Louis Home Inspector. And then the second part of it is home inspections in St. Louis, Missouri.
Right.
That is vital that you put your target area that you're targeting and what you do.
Right.
If you don't do that, that's going to affect you on the SEO, search engine optimization, I think, for Google, Yahoo, and Bing. Now, when it comes to your web page, are you on the internet at all?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So if you go to my website, stlhomeinspector.com, the way it works is, you have spiders that come in and they go from left to right. They start at the top, and they go through every line of code on your website.
Right.
So basically, the first thing what happens is you'll get down to my logo. And this is where a lot of people fail to is they build a logo with just a graphic. But they don't name the alt tag within the graphic, within the code.
Okay.
You got to name, if it's a graphic, complete graphic, you got to name the alt code. If you don't name that alt code, the spider's going to jump it. It's not going to put it out. Okay, so for mine, the only graphic in that logo there is the actual arch. The STL, the home inspection services that you see, is text. And now the spider's picking up on it, STL home inspection services.
Right.
Now the next thing I did was put radon, termite, sewer, thermal, and mold. Very important to tell what you do.
Right.
That's why I put it there. A lot of people always say, well, I think those are links. I understand what people are saying, and, they're thinking they're links. However, they're sitting there to tell the spider he does radon, termite, sewer, thermal, mold. If you search for me in St. Louis, radon, termite, sewer, most of them, or all of them, I come up for on the first page.
Right.
That's that reason. Okay. The next thing, you see the scrolling pictures underneath my, all those pictures are scrolling.
Right.
Very important, again, if you're going to have pictures, you need to have pictures. Make sure you name the alt tags within the code. Okay.
Okay.
It's inspection related. So like furnace inspections, IR, electrical panel inspections. Okay. A lot of people tell the name of vault codes. So now the next thing that's very important under that is you see where I have St. Louis Home Inspections?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's your title page name for that actual page, that main page right here. For any page, you want to have the title page under what's called the H1 tags.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I remember something.
So any page you have, whether it's mold, termites, whatever, your main page here, it needs to relate to what you're talking about. And you always need to have your city, home inspection, city, termite inspections, or whatever on that title page. It's very important for us to have. Then, within the body of your page here, like I said, content is king. And when it comes to home inspections, in my opinion, where a lot of people fail, they always talk about, how important it is to buy a house and get a home inspection and all this. Nobody cares about that. Everybody understands why it's important to get a home inspection.
Right.
What they don't understand is why it's important to hire you.
Right.
If you don't have the ability to, if you're brand new to the business, you've never been in construction or anything else, you need to put those things like your certifications of what you've done, and quit talking so much about why it's important to get a home inspection, but why it's important is to hire you.
Right.
So down in here, though, you want to make sure that you take some keywords that people might search for, but no more than 5, I would say. And sprinkle them in each page.
Now, Billy, can you overdo that? I've heard that you can overdo that. You can, overload it with keywords. Is that? Have you heard of that?
You can, but if you overload it with keywords, Google, Yahoo, Bing, they might ding you for farming keywords, for too many keywords. I listen to Dominic. I don't know from HIP. He has great SEO tips on his website. That's where I learned a lot of it from. Just reading over time, different books and different people. And a lot of them say just to use the top 5 keywords and put it on your pages. And that's what I did. But you got to sell yourself. You got to, you can't be talking about just everybody else and, why it's important to get a home inspection. But last but not least, down here on the bottom, I think it was Mike Crow I was listening to the other night. I love listening to that guy, by the way. Great info. He was thinking about keep your business address off your materials. And because, and it makes sense, because he serves Dallas, Fort Worth might not call you. I understood what he was saying. At the same time, when it comes to your website, it's very important to put your address there. And I'm going to tell you why, is because Google is looking for it. And according to Dominic, he's saying to put it down in the footer on the left-hand side on all pages. Well, once I did that, my local position, Google Local, used to be called Google Local. I think it's called Google Places now. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct.
So my Google Places thing all of a sudden jumped up. I was letter A all the time. And it's important. Google's looking for your business address. Whether if you're working out of your home or an office, make sure you put that address that isn't your actual business. Why is that important? I'll tell you why. Because I live in Illinois, and I work out of Missouri. And I made the mistake of actually putting my home address on there. And so I was coming up for Illinois searches instead of Missouri.
Right.
Okay. And so once I made that change, and I actually have an office in St. Louis, and actually virtual office it's called. Basically, it's a lady, collects my mail and everything. But once I did that, I popped up to the letter A, and I've been there ever since. But now, Missouri areas I serve, very, very important too. This is how I get into the search engines when it comes to other areas. A lot of people always say, well, I should build another web page, and make it specific to that small town or city or whatever. That's
right.
the thing. But it's going to be a lot of headache and a lot of time and effort to keep up with it.
Right.
The way I've done it, it's been working for years now, is I've actually put the cities all down there on the footer. But a lot of people where they make a mistake is that they put their cities on their main page in the body, but they don't put it on the footer.
Put it on the footer, okay.
Because if it's on the footer, your foot, your business name here, and your footer, and your header up there, okay, should all be static. What I mean by static is it should always be the same thing for every page of your website.
Right.
Okay. And so you want that to show up on every page of your website. And if you do that, I don't know if that's a secret, with Google or whatever, but I come up with numerous search engines, search phrases when it comes to different areas and different cities.
Right.
I think it's because I have it down there on the footer. So that's the basics behind SEO. A lot of people don't understand it's that simple.
Yeah. I got a couple of questions for you, Billy. With the Google Places, and right now I'm doing pretty well. Bad thing is I might be moving, so I'm going to have to change that address. I might have to ask you that offline. How that's going. But it's funny. I monitored that for a while, and there was a time. This was several years ago when it was the person, believe it or not, the person closest to the center of the city. So what happened was me and all my competitors would go get a P.O. box downtown. And then we were all showing that same address. But Google's done away with that. But, I've been on and off.
Google is not a friend of P.O. boxes that I heard. So they want a physical address that you're actually how you have your business from.
Yeah, and what I found out is over time, people try to trick Google, and Google figures it out. There used to be like link farms where you would, have all these links and have all these backlinks back to you, and that would get people up to number one. But as soon as they figured that out, you'd get a Google slap, and you'd get put way back. And then another trick that I heard of was people would put within the body of their web page, Billy, and they would just put like St. Louis Home Inspection, St. Louis Home Inspection, but then they would do it like in a white font so that it would be in the back. You would never see it, but it would be all over, and that worked temporarily. But Google would slap it
on.
Yeah.
So they caught on. You definitely don't want to do that now. You don't want to hide that.
I guess what I've figured out over time is don't go for any black hat, quick, or any kind of trickery because Google will figure it out. Would you agree with that?
I agree with that 100%. Yeah. What people don't understand, Sandlin, is when it comes to Google, Yahoo, Bing, there is no set quota. There is no set way that that you need to do something that Google's going to automatically put you at number one.
Right.
But if you don't follow these basic things that I'm telling you, in my opinion, you'll never have the chance to be number one on the search engine.
Right.
Because that, in my opinion, that's what Google picks up on. Is, the content. They pick up on the things I just told you about, and a lot of people just don't do that. They just, if you look at a lot of web pages, especially the H1 tag I told you about, I've seen it before. Welcome to my site or welcome to whatever. It has nothing to do with what people will search for, and that's what you got to remember whenever you go to code your website is on these keywords and these phrases and these areas I'm telling you to put stuff in. Is what will people search for? Most of the city home inspectors, going to be home inspectors in St. Louis, Missouri. It's going to be, I've seen it where they search for zip codes and stuff like that too.
Right.
The majority of the searches is for, city home inspector, or home inspectors in St. Louis, or some kind of like, maybe sewers, lateral inspector, St. Louis, whatever. So it's important that you put those keywords in those search engines for that, rank it up for that.
Absolutely. Well, Billy, I got another question, backup question. I wanted to get the name of that to learn HTML again, but then the second part of this question is, if we don't learn HTML, and I know there's like a lot of those pre-cut things we were talking about. Some of those are good. I think I fall somewhere in between there. I don't know HTML, but I can do a little bit. What I'm getting at here is, there's different types. If you wanted to use an editor, there's like WordPress, Joomla. I think there's what is the Adobe? Is it Adobe Dreamweaver? If one of the listeners out there was using, what would you recommend out of those? Do you have a preference?
I think I would stick with like Weebly, Squarespace, things like that. Those are going to be the easiest. I actually messed with WordPress for a while, and people claim to be experts at it.
Right.
I think there's a pretty big learning curve with WordPress, but once you do learn it, it's pretty simple. Anything that you have control over SEO, over those things that I told you about, especially the title of your pages, the ability to put keywords on your website, and the ability to make changes that the way you want, then go with it. But what I learned, not so much nowadays, I heard, but back in the day, those builders and stuff would throw extra code, a lot of extra code into your web page, and in my opinion, it might throw off, the spiders, and you might not index as well. Something with cleaner code.
Sure.
I might not be making sense when it comes to code, but to the listeners out there who never look at code or anything like that, but the less code you can put in there and the cleaner it is, the easier it is for the spiders and stuff going to be able to read the code and index your site and get it to be number one.
No, that's good stuff, Billy. Well, I use one of my websites is Joomla, and one is WordPress. And I'll put stuff in there, and every once in a while I'll switch over to the code, because it usually has an editor, and then it has WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get or something, and then and then you click on the tab to see the code, and you're like, whoa, because it has to have headers and all this. But if you look at it, you can kind of start to figure it out, like it's just telling it, this goes on top and this goes here. But, man, I applaud you, because that stuff is, it's, wow, it's like, it's Greek to me. Well, Billy, I want to get into a little bit of social media here in a minute, but first, let's take a pause first.
Well, I'll admit this probably doesn't have much to do with home inspection, but it will help me pay for this podcast. If you're in need of anything to hang on the wall, along the lines of art, go to PrestonSandlin.com. Check it out. You can click on there if you're interested, and it takes you to Fine Art America, some of the stuff I've done. And you can have all kinds of things, phone case covers, all different size art things. So if you're looking for a gift or something like that, you like this podcast, they'll help me pay for this podcast. That would be awesome. And if you can prove to me that you bought something from it and I see you at a conference or something, I'll buy you an adult beverage. Thanks a lot.
Hey, well, I'm back here with Billy Boerner in St. Louis, Missouri, who is a very technically proficient marketer of his home inspection services, and he has been dropping a lot of gold nuggets, and I've been taking notes. I hope you don't take notes if you're driving out there, but go back and listen to it again. But, well, Billy, I want to get into a little bit of social media. Talk to us a little bit about Facebook. A lot of home inspectors say they've been, having some good results and some not having good results, and they're on Facebook. So maybe you can enlighten us. Tell us how we could get better results on Facebook.
Well, Preston, in my opinion, the number one thing you need to do when it comes to Facebook is you need to friend every realtor you ever come across.
Right.
Okay? Everybody that you come across in general, try to see if they're on Facebook and friend them. And the biggest thing, too, that what I see is that a lot of people don't know what Facebook Boost is. I'm telling you right now, I did Boost for a Christmas card around Christmas time, and I reached about 11,600 people in my market.
Wow.
For $60.
Right.
Where else are you going to be able to reach that many people for $60? And I got a bunch of likes on it and everything else. I haven't really kept up with asking people, hey, did you see my Christmas card? And is that why you're calling? But at least you get your name out there, and it's a great way to show people who you are. And it's an alternative to making all the rounds to the realtor's offices, to try to get out there and get your name out. And but I wouldn't say that to only do that and stop for one and making yourself visible. But you need to do both of them together, hand in hand. So I think Facebook is a great way. And I have a friend of mine. I don't know if you know Troy Pappas.
I do. Norfolk, Virginia. Yep, I do.
Yeah.
He's a good guy.
He says a lot of his business comes from Facebook and boosting.
Right.
And, he says he'll never not do it. So.
Just a little side question on this, Billy. Do you notice, like, on stuff you post, do certain things work better than other, or do you have any suggestions on what type of stuff to post? Or
well, I just started doing this probably about 4 months ago because I heard actually listening to you guys in Short Office and about doing Facebook boost and stuff. But I would say, in my opinion, try to do the flyers, like your flyers that you offer and stuff like that. You're making all the rounds, you're going around putting them in all the boxes and everything else, but try to put it on there and do a boost and see what happens and see if they like, what you're looking at. But
sure.
You need to be specific, about what you're talking about what you're offering, make it beneficial for your audience.
Sure.
And talk about something of value for them. That you're just a home inspector.
Yeah, make it about them, not you.
Yeah,
exactly.
You got to make it value. You got to make it value for them for sure.
That's right.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, Billy, what tell us a little bit about the importance of like Angie's List, Yelp, Home Advisor. What do you think about these? And I know a lot of us look at different options. What's the 411 on those? I guess is what I'm asking.
In my opinion, it all really depends on your market. Okay. I've heard a lot of guys. I know a guy up in Seattle, for instance, that swears by Yelp. He says he probably gets 50 jobs a month off of Yelp.
Wow.
Okay. Oh yeah, he says it's huge up there, and in here Yelp is pretty big too in St. Louis. However, I don't get near what he gets off of it, but I think it's pretty important that you're on such sites as Yelp, Angies List, Home Advisor. I just started using that. I was going to ask you about that if you've ever done it. Are you getting anything off of that? But when it comes to Angies List, a lot of people hit and miss with Angies List. I have to say, when it first started it, I wasn't seeing much off of it. Now, all of a sudden, within the last month or two, it's just flying off the shelf. I'm getting a lot of people calling from Angies List, saying they found me there. So I think it's important that you scatter yourself out. You're not just in one spot.
Right.
You try to put your name out there on as many social media sites as possible because, just like you said earlier, that's the future and that's what people are looking for, especially within the 20 to 40-year-old range.
Right.
That's all they use. A lot of people don't understand too. I have a friend of mine that's fixated on Yahoo. He loves Yahoo.
Right.
If you do, it's important to be on Yahoo. It's important to be on Bing. But from what I read, the research shows something like 90% search Google. So
yeah, I've read the same thing.
Yeah, so it's very, very important to be on Google, then Yahoo and Bing. But spread yourself out all over all these sites. And another thing that I think is very important and people try to do is get Google reviews. But I know it's hard to do.
Right.
A lot of my clients, they might not have a Google Plus page.
Right.
The only way to really, get a review, from what I understand, is for Google is they have to have their own account or log in or something like that. So if you can get them to do that, get actual reviews on Google would be very beneficial, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And, the other thing you run into that I found out is you can have, 95 happy clients, But usually when people are happy, they just, go on about their life. It's when they're unhappy that they want to take to the internet.
Exactly.
and start writing things. And the bad thing is, you get a couple of bad reviews on there, and people don't realize, well, wait a minute, I had 95 happy people, but they don't, So if you could encourage some of those happy people to share that happiness, that would help out a lot.
I use ISN too, and that's exactly whenever I send out a report or anything like that, I have a link directly to these things, like for Google reviews and everything else. And I can't tell you, I got numerous reviews on Angies List because I was sending out that link, and it works like a dream if you use it within, sending out your reports.
Yeah. I want to add something, Billy. I got, I think on Google or something, I got like 30 reviews, and I think like 27 are, fantastic. I got like 2 or 3 bad ones, and those 2 or 3 bad ones used to just bother me, really bother me. But, 27 good, fantastic, and 3 bad ones. I had some people tell me, says, well, you know what? That looks realistic, though. If they were all good, somebody would think you were doing something. You know what I mean? Because that's realistic, That's realistic. So,
especially with the volume that you guys do, I don't know if it's true or not, but I heard you did $2 million last year. Well, how many inspections is that per year?
I can
if you only got 3 bad reviews, so you're doing pretty well. So.
I'll just get the military answer. I can neither confirm nor deny that. I hear you. Well, tell me about. Let's get into realtor marketing a little bit. Tell us about realtor marketing, like relationships and marketing material.
Okay. Well, that's where I'd like to ask you questions on that too, because that's the side of the fence. That's what I was talking to Mike Crow, trying to talk to him about one day, and some other people. I think a lot of us hang on one rope, but we don't hang on both when we swing.
Right.
We either hang on to the realtor side of it, or we hang on to just the websites. Like me, I'm hanging on the right rope with the websites and referrals, past business. I've never jumped really over to the realtor side of it.
Right.
But why don't we all do both sides? Because in my opinion, if you don't, you're missing out part of the pie.
Right. No, I'm with you, Billy. I think there's a movement, especially like you mentioned earlier with the 20 to 40 millennials there. They are doing a lot of stuff on their own and internet and doing their own research. But, I would say a majority still comes from realtors. And, I know some people say realtors will be obsolete and everybody will do it. I don't believe that. In a time when, I pay somebody $10 to bring me a pizza, when I pay, $40 for somebody to change my oil, when I can do both of those, I mean, you're still going to have people, a concierge, people going to want it. But I agree with you. You need to be doing the internet, which is more of a direct to the public sort of thing, and then you need to be doing the realtor marketing, which is, a referral. Having said that, I prefer direct to the public because, you're always walking that complicated dance with the realtor. I mean, it's like they're giving you future referrals, but your client is the buyer. So it's a little bit complicated. But, my approach to that, Billy, has always been, I heard a social media person say one time, and I thought this was the best ever. He said, it's just like a big cocktail party. When you go to a cocktail party, would you come in there right away and say, hey, let me look at your insurance policy. I think I could save you some money. Let me look over your insurance policy. And you say, hey, let me come on back to my car. I'll show you some Tupperware. I mean, people would be like, who the hell invited this guy? But if you come in there, hey, how you doing? How's, Southern, sweet and Southern. Hey, how's the kids? How's the dog? Who do you think's going to win the Super Bowl? Blah, 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 blah. You don't talk about business first. And you know what? It's like a social thing. If you talk about business, that's all. People are going to kick you out. It's all about you. What's in it for you? Be somebody who's interesting to talk to and see about them. And to me, it's 80% social and trying to help, 20% business. And if you stick with that formula, you'll do okay. But if you're all business up front, people are going to kick you out of that party. They don't want to hear you. You know what I mean? Because you're all about you. You're a taker. You know what I mean? So
that's great advice. Yeah, I understand that 100%. And that's where, a lot of us, I think, are scared to do. We walk in, a lot of home inspectors are very technical, they're very knowledgeable. When it comes to marketing, deep down they're scared. So they don't like people, and they don't like getting in there and learning about people and just, butting into their lives and trying to meet them.
Right. Well, and I'm not against, hiring somebody that has the skill set that you don't have. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Most home inspectors, are very good technicians. There's a few that are good marketers, and I'm not. Please, I hope somebody out there listens. Like, yeah, Red, what's he talking about? Dude, I can tell you right now, I'm the worst accountant ever, and I majored in accounting. I don't know what I was thinking. Thank goodness I pay somebody to do that, and they're very good at it. And they tell me what I need to do. Thank goodness, because I have no clue about it. I mean, I realize I'm not strong in that area. So if you're not a social person, you're not. Think about hiring somebody part-time or something that is a social person. I know some people say don't hire an ex-realtor, but I don't know. Sometimes I think that could be a good thing because they know and they are social. But just in business in general, I found figure out what your strengths are and figure out what your weaknesses are and hire people where you're weak that are strong there and, expound upon where you're, use your strengths and hire your weaknesses and don't, I've always heard that, what's that saying, if you got you're a teacher and you got an eagle, a squirrel, and a pig or something like that, don't try to teach the pig to climb a tree or the squirrel to swim or a duck, let them do what they do best, so figure out what animal you are. That probably wasn't the best metaphor in the world, but anyway.
That's a great way to look at it.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about job, like when you're on the job and communication with the client. How is that important? What do you do?
Yeah, and I've heard you talk about this a lot with your past interviews here, but it's extremely important that you have the ability to communicate. Not only what you're looking at,
right,
but communicate with the person that to make them comfortable.
Sure.
In my opinion, always start off by walking up to a person, introducing yourself to them, to the realtor, to everybody. Always look them in the eye and shake their hand.
Mm-hmm.
That right there puts them at ease a lot. And once you start walking around, and looking at things, be able to explain it in a way that if it's only a couple bucks to fix, make sure you tell them that.
Sure.
If it's drastic, be honest about it. Don't downplay it.
Right.
And once you do that, you have the ability to do that, in my opinion. That alone right there is going to get you business, and it's gotten me a lot of business from past clients in particular, because they knew that I was honest with them. I knew what I was talking about, and they just trusted me once I got done. So.
Sure.
Very important for the ability to learn that. And I'll have to be honest with you. You guys talk about hiring and everything like that, and I did that. I hired a guy, and he's been with me about a year now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the biggest things that I had to learn when I first started. I actually started out with a certified master inspector when it first came out way back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And I listened to him and stuff like that. And if you step into this business by yourself, I highly advise you to go walk with people first and listen to them and how they're talking, because you could be talking in a sense that's kind of doing you harm, if you will.
Sure.
Business, so.
Sure. Billy, I've had a theory. The tough thing, if you're wanting to break into this business and you're not a home inspector now, and it's kind of like appraisal too, the problem is, like let's say you go work for a guy. If you want to be out on your own and you go work for somebody else with the intention of going out on your own, in my opinion, you need to be honest with that person and not, let them think you're going to stay with them, and then your whole attention is go out on your own. And that's not fair to them. And obviously his fear is that you're going to walk away with some of those relationships. And I get that. And I think the same thing with appraisal. Here, you have to have a 2-year experience before you can sit for the test. But the problem is nobody's going to want to hire you knowing that you're going to be their competition. So what I've had people come to me. Now, this is really hard for people with families and things like that, but I've had young people come to me that, fresh out of college. I said, you know what I would do? I would go to another city, and I would say, look, I want to work for you. I'll train. I'll do whatever. You can pay me the minimum, but teach me the business, and I will sign a non-compete for this city. This is what my plan is. I plan to move back here after I get licensed. But I will be your grunt for 2 years and do whatever you want. And I think that honesty and that straight up, somebody came to me like that, I'd be, sure, absolutely. That's just a thought. And I know that's hard if somebody's got family and that sort of thing. But there's two sides to that. Somebody wants to break into the business, and it's hard, and I get it. But at the same time, somebody hiring them is protective of the business they have and don't want somebody to walk away with it, So I see both sides of it. But anyway, go ahead.
I've trained a few people here in St. Louis, and I've never been worried about it. Like the guy I have now, he has no non-compete, no nothing. But I'm in a large city. I can understand people that's in a rural area or a small town or something like that. But I'm in a city of, 5,000 realtors, I think it is, something crazy.
Right.
And so if my guy goes off and competes against me, I'm not too worried about it.
Right.
But I can see where you're leading to and where you would want to do those kind of things. But, I have a guy right now, his name is Jason. I've been in business second year right now, and his second year he did 305 inspections.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is great.
His website is actually doing well as well. So I'm happy for him. But he's in Farmington. He's down the street from me. He's out of my area, kind of. But he lives in my area, We talk all the time, and I think it's real important, too, that inspectors get to learn each other and kind of be friends because,
I agree.
Whenever you might not need help and they need help, and I talk to guys all the time, every day.
I'm totally with you, Billy, and I hope that happens, too, because we also have a lot of common interest for the industry. And, that we, like as far as legislation and things like that goes, and we need to be friends and help, to get things, if we're just bickering amongst each other and, ragging each other on forums and stuff. I mean, number one, the perception from the public is that our industry is not professional. And number two, we're not, there's strength in numbers and, combining for a cause and that sort of thing. So anyway, I know I'm getting off on a tangent here, but
I agree with you 100%. We just need to work together for sure.
No, and I'm friends with most of my competitors. Well, tell us a little bit, Billy. How important is report turnaround times and radon turnaround times?
Let me tell you, Preston. I've been using AirCheck ever since I've been in business. And I don't know, are you familiar with AirCheck?
I'm not. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, AirCheck is a company, radon.com, and basically you buy their kits, whatever, and you hang them and be done. A lot of people think it's unprofessional, but for instance, last year I got hired by a major university to do 22 full houses at once.
Right.
And all of them wanted radon.
Right.
Wow. So I have to have that as a backup because I couldn't afford to have 22 machines or whatever.
Right.
But I also noticed the importance of turnaround time when it comes to radon. So AirCheck was killing me when it comes to dropping it on a Wednesday. I had to pick it up on Friday, but I couldn't get the results till Monday.
Right.
And I think, in my opinion, I was losing business on the realtor side of the fence. You know how I said pulling both ropes.
Right.
You know, and that's the reason why you know, I wasn't getting that many jobs from them. I didn't really recognize it at first because I really didn't want to be that big. I didn't want to be that busy because I did work full time in the Air Force, and I didn't have time to do 60 jobs like whatever you guys do. But now I'm looking back and I'm thinking, man, that probably hurt me for a little while. I should have done that with the machines because now I have to rebuild that relationship and say, hey, listen, I am using machines now. I can get your results in 48 hours. Here you go. And that's the benefit about machines, in my opinion, report turnaround. And so we've invested in just to test it out with Rattlelink, I believe it is.
Mm-hmm. Down in Atlanta.
Air Cats.
Mm-hmm.
So we got a couple of those coming, so we're going to see how that works out for us. And if it works out, we're going to invest in some nuclears to 28s and all that.
Cool.
So I think report turnaround is vital as well. If you're going to get it out in 24 hours, make sure to get it out in the morning.
Right.
I can tell you how many times I thought about, I'll get out next day and then I'll get out 2, 3 o'clock. Well, realtors be calling you. If you don't get it out by 10 o'clock in the morning, they're calling. So
exactly. Well, you got another inspection too. You're doing another inspection.
Exactly. So we're trying to do reports in the same day now, but I don't understand how. I talk to people that say they've done reports in 45 minutes and an hour and a half. I'm here to tell you, I'm a 2-man crew, and it still takes me 2.5, 3 hours to do a report.
Right. Well, I'm amazed. I know there's a lot of folks out there, and I'm totally amazed, and I applaud, I guess, and what do you put that? I wish I could do on-site reporting. I just can't do it myself, and maybe that's a self-limitating thing.
I can't do it.
I like to get back and sit down and think about, obviously we have a whole lot of canned statements plugged in, but I type a lot of, because not every house, every problem is a canned statement. I mean, there's certain things you need to say about things, and you got to type those out, and you need to say it in a certain way, and some of it just comes from experience doing this so long. But, we definitely try to get them out by the next morning. The only exception to that is when we have a POS. I guess you know what that acronym is for. I won't say it because we're a G-rated show. But it takes a long time to write that up, and every once in a while we'll have one of those, and we will let all parties know, it's going to be a little bit longer, but we will get it out, pretty soon.
See, I think that's the big difference between me and a lot of people around the country is I do have a lot of those. We deal with basements, we deal with flat roofs, we deal with 2-3-story buildings all the time.
Right.
So, I think it just takes us longer because of that reason. But we still try to get it out as quick as we can, But we tried on-site reporting too. Let me tell you, I've owned all the gadgets, and I tried it, and I'm pretty quick at typing.
Right.
Here's the key that everybody, especially the new guys listening, need to know. Until you get your library 100%, don't try on-site reporting.
Right.
Yeah, because you're going to find yourself a lot of typing, a lot of, trying to look for things and everything that you don't. And you really got to know your library very well and know how to use the search features when it comes to those things.
Sure. No, I'm totally with you.
And then don't release the report right after neither. In my opinion, you need to go home, you need to sit down, and you need to alter things, to not be so canned, because sometimes, like you're saying, it's not always a canned way to do it. So.
Right. And I know there's some people out there who do online, and I'm sure they're probably yelling at their podcast right now when they listen to this. Hey, and I get it. It's just for me personally, I can't. I like to sit down and think about what I'm going to say, because a lot of times when I'm at the inspection, that's kind of a high-pressure situation. I mean, I've been in the attic, the crawl space, and I got 8 family members there. Their uncle who did AC 10 years ago, both realtors, and they're all on top of me, and for me to try to write this report and make sure I don't forget anything or miss anything, for me personally, I just can't do it. I mean, I applaud the people who can. I need to get in a relaxed atmosphere and think about what I'm going to say, that sort of thing. But, well, let's move on. Billy, how do you feel about thermal imaging? Do you do it? What's your thoughts on it?
I do thermal imaging, and I think everybody should be doing thermal imaging, in my opinion. I can't tell you how many times I ran across something that I just wouldn't have seen.
Right.
A lot of people, fear that it will scare the realtors away or this and that. And when it comes to actually advertising to the public, in my opinion, it's a great thing to do if you know what you're doing.
Sure. Two questions on that. What type of cameras do you use, and do you do it on every inspection?
I use a FLIR. I'm sorry about that, not a FLIR, but a Fluke. And, I do use it on every inspection. I don't charge for it. In my opinion, we use it as a tool. I know a lot of people. Now, if someone wants to do a commercial job or, wants to do the whole entire building, like outside and stuff like that, I do charge extra for that.
Sure.
To scan inside the building, I don't charge for that.
Yeah, no, and that's one thing you got to
impress people. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and it gives you a USP, unique selling point.
Mm-hmm.
We do them. I don't do them on every inspection because I don't have enough cameras, and quite frankly, it would be very, very expensive to outfit everybody on my team.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
But it's going to happen, and when you say everybody should do it, and I know people are like, how much those things cost? They're coming down though. I mean, they have come down so much. I mean, the cameras have. I mean, they're like half now what I paid for.
You can get a good camera for $2,500 around here, in my opinion. Easily.
But you can't.
Here's an example why you should use it. Real quick, Preston.
Okay.
We did a house, a condo one day, and this condo in the kitchen, above the kitchen is a deck. Okay, it was a second level condo, and that deck was taking on water because the actual overhang actually had holes in it, whatever. It was taking on water. Well, the kitchen, I couldn't see nothing. It looked like a beautiful brand new ceiling.
You probably just painted it.
Yeah, they did. As soon as I pulled that thermal out, I could see a huge 5 foot by whatever, wet spot.
Ooh.
And it was something like what I heard down the road. It was something like $2,000 to $3,000 fix.
Wow. Yeah, no, that was.
Imagine.
Oh yeah. Well, and I know what somebody out there is saying. Well, if you couldn't see it, it was beyond the scope of the thing. And technically, you're right, but just imagine having that conversation with a realtor. You saved yourself and came out a hero on top of it.
Yeah. All about came out a hero, but the realtor.
Well, that's cool.
Funny enough, that place too, they didn't buy it, of course. And then they when someone else called me for an inspection, it was the same house. I was like, oh my gosh! So I had to tell them. What I saw before, and then I pulled out my gun, and I could see it was dry, and they fixed it. I said, well, today it's fixed, so.
Well, cool. Well, I'm glad.
Same spot, so.
I'm glad the sellers fixed it. I've had a situation like that where the sellers, I've inspected the same house, sellers knew it, and they tried to cover it up again. And I'm like,
I'm sure that happens a lot.
They're funny when it comes to money. Well, Billy, tell us about your opinion about the organizations, ASHI, Internashi, NAHI. I've been a member of Internashi for a while. I just joined ASHI. I probably should have joined a long time ago. I was kind of like, I was a hard-headed person. I was like, why do I need that? I don't need that. But, I've come around. I was like, for the benefits that you get, education and stuff, it's a great value. But, what's your opinion on the organizations?
Well, my opinion is when it comes to organizations, I get a lot out of talking to people and learning from them. Even the cranky guys on the board, that you talk about. I can't tell you how many gold nuggets I've learned from those old cranky guys. And, so I take whatever they say for a grain of salt and move on with it. But, it's all about what you want out of the organization. If you want education, if you want just the branding or whatever. So, for example, in my area, Nachi is non-existent home almost, okay, in Nachi. And a lot of realtors just don't know. I mean, every realtor I've ever ran into, they're like, what is Internachi, you know? And I explain to them, they're like, oh, okay, that's cool. You know, and they're fine with it, most of them, but I've lost a lot of jobs, too, because of it, not being Ashi. This is a very heavy dependent area for Ashi. And I think I'm pretty, you know, you ask all the time, do you know when you made it, whenever? How do you know? I think whenever I'm doing good business the way I'm doing right now, I'm not Ashi. If I do become Ashi and go out to the realtor side, it's going to be a whole nother ball game. And I think I'm doing really good without it right now. But I am looking at joining because I do want to grab on both sides of the rope, try to get going on the realtor side. But I know here in St. Louis, if I don't become Ashi, it's not going to happen.
Sure. Well, I just joined Ashi, and I'll tell you, I mean, the resources are incredible. So, you know, I held out for a long time, but I shouldn't have. Tell us a little bit, Billy, about the systems that you use in your business, like ISN, Inspection Support Network. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, first, when it comes to systems, let me tell you what. Day one, do not start your business without putting systems in place.
Right.
Okay. You know, I can't tell you how important that is, especially when it comes to taxes.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you ask people all the time, where did you fail in your business? Let me tell you where I failed. I failed that I didn't understand taxes. I didn't understand. I knew I had to keep copies of receipts, but I got lazy on it. And do not get lazy on that stuff and keep track of everything. And, you know, so that's very important. But when it comes to ISN, I love ISN.
Right.
ISN is a one-stop shop, in my opinion. I'm not trying to make a plug for anything. I'm just telling you the truth. I don't need QuickBooks. I don't need mileage trackers. I don't need anything. It does it all.
Right.
I can run a report every month, one report, pulls up my inspection fees, labels them out for me. I know exactly what I made. I can download it in Excel and be done with it.
Sure.
And, you know, and ISN, the email marketing aspect of it, where it sends out all those messages, and it just saves a lot of time. And, you know, we talked the other day about call centers and looking on into call centers, and they're going to be using my ISN as well. And I just won't go away from it. The only thing I don't, you know, care for ISN right now, and I'm trying to get them to change it, is the ability to pull all your, if you want to mass pull down your contracts. You got to do it individually. And can you imagine after you've done 1,000 home inspections and you decide, okay, well, I need to back up my contracts.
Oh, yeah.
So that's one thing that I'm trying to get them to change. But other than that, I don't see a problem with it. I think it's the best thing under the sun, and I highly recommend ISN. When it comes to other systems, you know, Homeowners Network, a lot of people, you know, why should I use Homeowners Network? I'm going to tell you, if you're a new guy, it's a great way to get help.
Right.
You're on a job site, you're looking at something. I can't tell you when I first started this, but I know we've all been that way. None of us just walked into business knowing what we know today.
Right.
And I'll be looking at something, I'm like, man, who can I call? You know,
sure.
The Homeowners Network thing, now you can just, you know, I was listening to Marion, that interview you did, and take a picture of it, and, you know, 30 minutes later, you got some guy telling you, hey, this is what you're looking at. That's a great thing to have, and it's really going over good with my clients, too. They're happy that they have that as well. But another thing that I use is called TaxSpot. That's a great way to keep track of your taxes, of your receipts. I take pictures, put it right there on my database, and I'm done now. I wish I wouldn't have known about that a long time ago.
I hear you. Well, Billy, you know, something I wish I would have known about a long time ago. You mentioned receipts and stuff. There's a couple of different apps that are awesome. You can now, like, take a picture of your receipt. I mean, I would still keep the receipt, But if you're like me, you got boxes and boxes of receipts, maybe even some garbage bags full. But the cool thing is I've got everything right there, and it'll categorize them for you that you set up, and it's awesome. Just every time I buy something for business, I take a picture of it, and I got the receipt right there. So that's it.
Yeah, that's what TaxBot does too. How much is yours free download, or because TaxBot costs you $20 a month? That's the download of it, but.
I think mine was a one-time fee. This is just receipts, though. I want to say $9.99, but I'm not sure, and I'm not even sure what the name of it is. I'd have to go back and look. I looked at a couple of different ones and just looked for, like the number of stars or whatever. And I love it because receipts are messy, man. As we speak, they're like all in the console of my truck. They're everywhere.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Well, Billy, we have gone a long time. I got just a couple of, personal questions because I think everybody likes you. You have brought them some value. So they'd like to know a little bit about you, and we'll finish up, and I'll let you get on with your day. So I go back to that question, the bookend of the one I asked early. How do you think inspections will change in the future? And you've kind of told us already, but you have anything to add?
I think, they're going to get a little bit more technical. People's going to expect a little bit more from you. I think that when it comes to report writing or when it comes to the systems in itself, you really got to keep on what the current thing is and to see what progresses in front of you. Because if you keep doing what you're doing in the past, you might be left behind.
I agree.
And,
Billy, I'll add to this. The most dangerous statement in business or phrase or whatever you want to call it is, well, we've always done it that way. Well, I hear that and I'm like, well, Woolworth always did it that way, and then Sears always did it that way, and then Kmart always did it that way, and now Walmart has just about run them all out of business. So if you keep doing things the way you always did it, you're going to get run out of business. I hate to say it. You've got to adapt. That is a dangerous thing to say, that we've always done it this way, therefore we're going to stick that way. You got to be pliable and move with the times.
And that was the biggest reason for this interview too. Everybody's always done it the way of a majority of us that I see, especially after going to these conferences last year. I see a lot of us, go specifically after realtors. A lot of people is not worried about their websites. It's not worried. In my opinion, if you don't, you're going to have guys like me go back to both sides, and it's going to affect, what you're doing around you, in your local area. So, it's vital. It's important you do both sides of the road.
Well, and search engines are the new Yellow Pages, And in the old days, Yellow Pages, did you ever notice everybody called the company AAA or AAA, whatever, so they would be the first listing? Well, that's obsolete now. Now you got to figure out how to be the first listing on Google, or at least the top 3. And naming your company AAA ain't going to do it anymore. Well, switching gears, I just have 2 or 3 more questions, and I know I've held you up, and I apologize. Switching gears just a little bit, this is always a fun question, and remember, it's a G-rated show with this question. Billy, what's the wildest, craziest, weirdest thing you've ever found on a home inspection?
I haven't found anything like you guys. Like, what was that, Wally? You found the guy sleeping underneath the house or something like that? Oh,
yeah. We found caskets and drug labs and inflatomates. All kinds of stuff.
No, I think the strangest thing I ever found was someone trying to grow marijuana up in the attic. But that's about.
Did it have the grow lights? The grow lights?
Yeah, they had grow lights and everything.
I want to talk to one of these guys someday. Not that, but I can't even get my tomato plants to grow. I'm pretty sad. I'd be a bad drug dealer. I can't even get my plants.
I haven't run across anything drastic, but animals, stuff like that. But yeah, I hear some of you guys. I'm like, wow. I guess I'll be in St. Louis. You think I'd come across something crazy like that? Yeah.
Well, Billy, this is my last question. And it's kind of what's the best return on your investment question if you think about it. If you had to move to a brand new town equal to the size of St. Louis and start all over, room and board taken care of, you still have all the equipment and knowledge you currently have. You just don't know anybody, but you have $5,000. What are you doing in that first week?
Well, the first week, like everybody else was saying, I would take that money and I would invest it into marketing material and try to go after the real estate offices and everything and lawyers or whoever I could that would get me going the quickest.
Right.
Because if you try to put up a website, the website's not going to get you going the quickest.
Yeah, it's going to take a while.
It's going to take a while. You might be put in the sandbox for a while, as it's called with Google. It could take a year to 2 years before you even jump up there. It really depends on your market, and that's what's important to learn is, like Dallas, for example. If you look at Dallas, you look at page 1 of Dallas, there's all kinds of guys that actually know SEO. And those guys, once you get up in there in those positions, if you ask Dominic, it's very hard to move them down.
Right.
So in my market, I'm about the only one that I can see that really knows it 100%. Not 100%. No one knows the whole truth behind SEO, but
it changes.
Actually understands it. Yeah, it changes all the time. But at least I try to make those changes if I can, if I learn about them. And but my market is very flexible when it comes to that. So
cool. Well, good stuff, Billy. Well, Billy, you've been more than generous with your time, and you have given out a ton of gold nuggets. If the listeners out there who have, if you received a gold nugget, please go to his Facebook page and give him a like. And I might ask how we can get in touch with you if they want to, if that's okay with you. But first, what's your Facebook page, Billy? Business page.
My Facebook page is facebook.com STL Home Inspector, and you can get to me there, or just come to my website. It's stlhomeinspector.com. Anybody can call me, email me anytime. 314-805-2137.
Cool. Well, Billy, you've been more than generous with your time, and we just want to say thank you on the Super Bowl Sunday. And last question, who you rooting for? I know you probably don't have a dog in the fight, as I don't, but you root for any particular team?
I want to see Seattle do it this year. It's just what they say was true about the Pats. In my opinion, I would have removed them out of the Super Bowl. So we should see. So
yeah, we're just hoping that the Panthers can make it one day. All right.
Exactly.
All right, Billy. Well, thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
All right, sir. You have a great day. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.
Thanks for checking out the Successful Home Inspector podcast. You can find show links at thesuccessfulhomeinspector.com. Check out the website for special offers, information, and other resources. Thanks again for listening to the Successful Home Inspector podcast. And remember to check back for new episodes. The Successful Home Inspector podcast is brought to you by Preston Sandlin and Home Inspection Carolina.